All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Braczkowski, and I'll be your host for today. As we rush towards the end of December, I know there's some classrooms who might be heading out this week on their Christmas holidays. And I know here in Canada, many of the classrooms will go right through till Thursday. But either way, we're here for you. We'll be doing live events right up until that final Thursday on the 22nd, where we'll take a virtual field trip to Sandcob in South Africa, and we'll learn about the conservation work they're doing protecting South African penguins. This month, we've had a theme of big cats. So we've been talking to researchers and scientists, explorers and filmmakers, conservationists around the world, and they've been sharing their stories of the work that they're doing in the Americas, Asia, Africa, and other areas around the world. So today, we've got Braczkowski joining us. He is a big cat biologist from South Africa. He's researched lions and leopards across South Africa and Uganda, and filmed other big cats across 3 continents. Now, the other day, we had Steve Winter join us, a National Geographic photographer, and for a while, Alex worked as his photographic assistant on magazine and television stories describing leopards, jaguars, and lions. And then he spent some time at the University of Queensland in Australia as well. And if you head over to Disney, if you have Disney Plus, you can check out an amazing film featuring tree climbing lions in southwestern Uganda. So I'm going to bring Alex in live with us right now. Hey, Alex, how you doing today?
Hey, Joe, how are you? How is everybody today? Hey, everyone.
We're good. We're good. We've got classrooms across Canada and the US joining us today, and we're really excited to let you dive in for a little bit.
Thank you so much. Hey, everybody. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for setting all of this up, and thank you to all the amazing students in Canada and the USA. I'm excited to share with you about big cats, why we need to save them, and how you can help. So I'm going to jump straight in. So my name's Dr. Alexander Braczkowski. I'm a scientist and filmmaker from Durban, South Africa, as Joe said. I've been working on African leopards, African lions, and even jaguars for the past 15 years of my life. And I've been very lucky to work in a bunch of different places, from countries like Peru, South Africa. My main project is in Uganda, but I've also gotten to even work in Asia. I'm currently in Sri Lanka. I'm helping a friend of mine who's got a big leopard project here in a place called Yala National Park. And I've even worked in Mumbai, India, which I'm going to be talking a little bit about later. So when I'm not doing science, I'm doing a lot of photography work. And as Joe said, a lot of the photography work that I'm going to be describing today has been done in collaboration with a close friend of mine, Steve Winter, who is one of the world's top big cat photographers and photo trappers. So this is a photograph of us in the Timbavati Game Reserve of South Africa in 2015, setting up what we call a remote camera trap. So those 2 boxes, the first box has got a camera, like a DSLR, digital camera inside it, and that other box by my face has actually got an infrared transmitter. So basically when the cat walks past, that sends a signal to the box and it takes a photograph. So I guess what I want to try and figure out from you today is, why are big cats important? I'm going to try and tell you a little bit about it, but we're also going to have a little bit of a discussion. So one of the main reasons is that they are incredibly important, what we call ecosystem engineers. Sometimes we call them flagship species or umbrella species. But basically, by focusing our conservation and protection efforts on big cats, we can have beneficial impacts on the ecosystems at large where they live. So this is a photo that Steve actually took in Mumbai in 2015. And the reason that it's so cool is because in Mumbai, you have 35 leopards that are living in a urban park, a national park. And we calculated that these leopards probably save about 90 human lives every year, because they eat about 1,500 stray dogs. And those stray dogs cause thousands of dog bites on people and even spread rabies. So who would have thought that? Leopards living in a park and actually saving human lives. They're also incredibly important for tourism economies. So just in the place where I work in southwestern Uganda, every lion that you see in a national park, when you drive on safari, it's worth $16,000 US to the local economy. Every single lion that you count. That's the revenue that it brings in. That's the money that it brings into the national parks every year. And these are the guys that I'm going to be really talking about today, the tree climbing lions. They're something that's really special to me. So this is a little bit more, it's just some more work on what we did in Mumbai. But basically, we wrote 2 big, what we call literature reviews. Basically, we tried to see all over the world, where are big cats having an impact? Where are they helping people? And as I said, in Mumbai, about 90 people are saved every year. So if we eliminated those leopards, if we cleared their habitat, if we got rid of that national park, and if we didn't have leopards, how many more dog bites would we have? And that's what we calculated. So I want to show you guys a little video of what those leopards look like. They're pretty incredible because they walk on the edge of skyscrapers, on the edge of a big city. So look at this. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is amazing. This is a big male leopard called Big Daddy. And that was taken on a bridge in a place called Mulund, near the Thane district of Mumbai. Pretty amazing stuff. But I guess the question that I want to ask you now, so we've basically come up with 2 reasons. They're important from an ecotourism perspective in terms of the safari money that they bring in, and then also the ecosystem services that they bring in. Joe, can we ask just a couple of students what they think? What are some of the reasons? I'm looking for 3 other reasons as to why big cats are important.
Absolutely. All right. Let's bring in some classrooms. Look at some ideas why big cats are important. So we'll bring in some 4th graders, see if they have an idea.
All right. Who has an idea? Come on. You want to come on up? Do you have an idea why big cats are important?
I think they're important because they're good for the economy.
Yep. So I don't know who that student was, but that is 100% right. So they're good for the economy, as we said. So remember, every single lion in Uganda is worth about $16,000 every year to the economy.
All right.
And sorry, just when you just tell us your name also. Who are you?
Kayana.
That was Kayana.
Oh, Kayana. Thank you. Brilliant. Excellent.
All right. Let's grab one more. Who has another idea?
Anybody else have another idea of why they're important? Come on up.
They save 90 people every year. And my name is Maddie.
Yep. So, ecosystem services.
All right.
Every year.
So I think just to make sure we're all on the same page, we're looking for 3 other ideas. So Alex shared 2 with us. And we're trying
to come up with the ideas.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out 3 other reasons why big cats might be important. Here we go.
My name is Stella. They're important for the food chain.
Thank you, Stella. Yes, that is 100% right. So what Stella just said, they're important for the food chain. So we have evidence now that when you remove big cats from ecosystems, there's actually a collapse of that ecosystem. So in places like in the United States, Yosemite and Zion National Park, when you remove pumas or mountain lions, you can actually see over an 80-year period, because the recruitment of the trees, the little baby tree saplings, they cannot grow because they get eaten by the deer. So exactly what Stella said there, 100% right. Perfect answer.
All right, let's try Texas. We've got a 7th grader on deck.
They keep populations of other species down.
100% right. So what's your name, sir?
Colton.
Colton. So what Colton said relating to Stella, exactly that. So basically they keep the ecosystem in balance by keeping those layers of what we call the trophic pyramid in check. Perfect.
All right. Let's check in one more. Let's try North Carolina. Anybody have an idea?
Joe, we're coming up with the same exact ideas everybody else has got so far. So we're waiting to hear what Dr. Alex has to say.
Okay.
All
There's
right.
someone throwing their hand at the back there, but okay.
It might have been a wave. What about Miss Kennelty's crew? Should we check in? Do you guys have an idea?
The more lions, the better.
All right, we have one idea here from Dylan.
All right. Come on up, Dylan.
Try it out.
The more lions you have, the more babies can get made, so that way you keep all the other bad stuff from happening.
Yep. So again,
Fabulous.
ecosystem, you stop the ecosystem from collapsing. So the balance of the ecosystem. I'd say just the last one for 25 seconds. If we think about it, I think another reason why big cats are so important, it's they form such an important part of our culture, our everyday lives, our respective religions. I think in so many ways, big cats bring us together in the most amazing ways through our kind of human fibers of existence. So, if we think about the Bible, if we think about the Torah, if we think about the Quran, all these different texts, there's so many references to big cats. There's so much reference to their cultural symbology. So I think that's another reason why we need to conserve them, because if we lose them, we fundamentally lose what it means to be, I think, human. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, Alex, absolutely. And we talked about this a little bit with Steve, and we had a polar bear expert with us earlier in the week. And if we lose big cats and big predators, that means we're in big trouble. With things have degraded so badly that if we lose them, things are not looking good for us either.
Exactly. So I'm going to just jump into something more fun, everybody. So basically, is that okay, Joe? Does that look good?
I don't see it loaded yet, Alex.
Cool. So I'm sure everybody here is familiar with National Geographic magazine. A lot of people watch National Geographic television. A lot of people see these incredible animals on TV and also on the web, and that's what I'm going to be talking about a little bit today. So apart from the science,
Alex, can you try that share again? It didn't load.
Sure, no worries. Sorry. Sorry. Here we go.
There we go.
How's that? Is that okay?
Coming now. Yep.
Okay, so basically, the place where I work, where I do a lot of my work photographically, so where I take a lot of pictures and videos of big cats, is a place called the Queen Elizabeth National Park in the southwest of Uganda. And I'm going to quiz you guys later about this. But it's close to the Democratic Republic of Congo, right there in a place called the Albertine Rift Valley. And the reason this place is so interesting is because if you look at all of Africa, that massive continental chunk on the maps that we have of the world, in all of Africa, this particular part of the continent has what we call the highest vertebrate richness of any place in the whole of Africa. And what I mean by vertebrate, so vertebrate is any animal with a spinal column. So just like us, a back, so a spinal cord. That's what we're talking about. So highest biodiversity richness, anything with a spine, this is the place to find it. And I'm going to share a little video so you get an idea of the kinds of areas that we are driving through every day. So these are the savannas where we often find the lions. You can actually see them in the trees there. We find incredible populations of some of the last, what we call tusk-bearing bull elephants in East Africa. So they actually have tusks. We have pelicans in the Salt Lake craters. We have what we call this Mabamba swamp. It's an incredible swamp system where you have these wonderful shoe bulls. And that's one of the, that's a Jeep that I drove around in, and I made my documentary in with a team of Ugandan collaborators. And that's actually one of the only roads in the south of the reserve in a place called the Shasha sector of Queen Elizabeth National Park, an incredibly immense and biologically rich habitat. So really wonderful place to work. And when I got there in 2017, there was already a photographer that had done some incredible photographic work on these wonderful tree lions. And his name is Joel Satori. He founded what's in National Geographic's archives called the Photo Arc. So his objective is to try and photograph every single species on Earth before he leaves the Earth or they leave the Earth. So basically, that's his sort of life purpose. And he got this incredible image of this tree climbing male lion in the Shasha sector. So I was like, wow, okay, so this is going to be a hard guy to beat. His photographs are going to be a hard thing to try and equal. It's very, very difficult, because the images and the behaviors that these lions are exhibiting, very cool, very different. Joel was also one of the first guys to actually use these small robot cars with these mounted cameras to get these images of these lions at eye level. And now I'm going to show you a little tiny clip of the lions that I spent filming for about a year, and that I've been doing some science on over the last couple of years of my life. So here's a little clip of one of my collaborators, Jimmy Kasembo, and we are looking for tree climbing lions. Prides often break into smaller groups to hunt or rest, which can make them harder to spot. But if there are lions in the area, Jimmy will find them.
So we've got Mom literally 4 meters away from me, along with 2 teeny weeny, maybe 1.5-month-old cubs. And today is one of the first days that they've been climbing the tree. They're really new at this.
We've found 2 tiny members of the Northern Pride.
Saying to Mom, how do I do this? This was not part of the plan.
They're getting one of their first climbing lessons from their mother, Murunji.
She's balancing now. She's on top of it. Oh man, he just fell out of the tree. He fell out of the tree. Oh man. Oh.
So that's the incredible sort of behavior that these tree lions exhibit. So when I got to Uganda, I was wondering, well, how do I actually show these lions and their incredible behavior in a way that maybe not a lot of other photographers have done? And the cool thing with these lions is that they essentially climb 2 kinds of trees. So they climb what we call these euphorbia-like, these cactus-like euphorbias. So these are euphorbia trees, euphorbia ingens, and this is one of the most poisonous trees on planet Earth. The milky latex that this lion, the tree that this lion is in actually exudes, can actually be used as a fish poison. And if this latex gets into your eyes, it can actually make you go blind. There you can see they're actually in this cactus-like tree. It's pretty incredible. So I was trying to get closer and closer to these lions, and with some wide-angle photos, some zoom lenses, and basically trying to also document the tree climbing. And the cool thing is that I managed to get some photographs of these baby lions, 6, 7, 8-week-old cubs climbing with their mom. And the cool thing is that these mothers are basically teaching the little babies from this young age. So we have evidence that this behavior, this tree climbing behavior, is passed down what we call the matrilineal or the mother line. So aunts, sisters, mothers, they are teaching the babies. The babies are looking at them, and that's who they're learning from. So a couple of sort of strategies that I used to try and get something different. So I got a special permit from the Uganda Wildlife Authority to use drones to basically try and get really cool wide-angle close-up shots of the lions. And I also even lay and sat on the top of this little pickup buggy to get quite close to the lions in the tree. And here's a little video to show you what the droning procedure sort of looked like. So we find a male lion called Jacob, and then basically I want to try and get quite close to him with this little drone.
The reason I want to do that is because I want to get some really awesome pictures and video of him, and 2, maybe get something that we've never seen before in terms of behavior.
Pretty incredible footage, don't you think? So we also took a lot of still photos from the drones. So this is Jacob. This is that young male. He was about 2.5 years old at that point. This is another cool photograph that I got of him. So you can see shooting with a wide-angle lens. This is him with his sister, Julia. And that's a really cool photograph of him right up in the tree. I really like that one. This is his sister and his mother, Julia and Jessica, again up in the tree. And here's a little video of them also with the drone, a little orbit and some more footage, basically trying to experiment and get some really cool footage that no one had, by this point, 2018, really seen anything like this. There's obviously a lot more people that are using drones in wildlife films, but this was sort of what I was dealing with 4 or 5 years ago. I also used camera traps. So remember that photograph that I had with Steve Winter setting up a camera trap? So these are the kinds of images that I got with some remote flash photography, where I basically set up these DSLR camera traps on kills to basically get these interesting images of these lions at night. So this is a female called Kugeri with her 5 cubs. This is her eating what we call a waterbuck carcass. And then also I actually drove into the trees and got into the trees with the lions by conditioning them slowly over a period of time, getting them used to the presence of me and my vehicle. And you can see how close I actually got to them. At one point I was shooting with what we call a 16 to 35 millimeter lens. So a very wide angle lens, and maybe a half a meter away from these lions. And you can see the sort of fruits of that labor are pretty cool, pretty different perspectives of what the lions look like. I call this image the lion tree house, because the lions are all kind of hanging out, trying to figure out how to move around and also get down from the tree. This is also pretty cool, using some off-camera flash technology. There's a black and white shot I took. And this is a cool one of the lion hanging out just by himself after all of his brothers and sisters have come down from the tree. Again, really cool. Wow, that one was a little bit too close maybe. I was probably about 40 centimeters away from him. So maybe a little bit too close. So, yeah, before I sort of open up the floor, because I really want to use this time to discuss all the fantastic young people in all of our different classrooms, I want to give everyone a little bit of advice, and then we can have a bit of a discussion and ask some questions. But I guess a lot of people often ask me is, how do you start? How did I start? What do I need? Do I need fancy equipment? And I've put up 3 very simple photographs here. A mid-level DSLR camera called a Fujifilm X-T20, a little tiny drone called the Mavic Mini, and then a small tripod. And the reason I put up these photographs, because collectively, all of these pieces of equipment on Facebook Marketplace secondhand will cost you about $500 total. A lot of the time people think you need thousands and thousands and thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars to start a career in photography and film. And that's simply not the case. We are rapidly moving into an era of photography and filmmaking where we don't need fancy equipment. And what we rather need is a really good idea, is how do we tell a good story? How do we figure out a storytelling method or picture or angle that maybe a lot of other photographers haven't explored? So perhaps if we were to do just a 20-second example, if someone gave us an assignment as National Geographic photographers, young National Geographic explorers, we are going to do an assignment on the monarch butterfly. Often photographers will tell you, all right, we need to take pictures of monarch butterflies. But actually, if you open up National Geographic magazine, 90% of the photographs that you see are not just of monarch butterflies. They are of monarch butterfly habitat. What are the threats to monarch butterflies? What are the interactions between people and monarch butterflies? Maybe people eat monarch butterflies. Maybe there's big swathes of forest that the monarch butterflies are using. Their migration paths maybe are getting disturbed. Those are the kinds of things that we as photographers, filmmakers, and storytellers really want to be talking about and really want to be photographing. So yeah, and then obviously I have these last photographs of Charlie Hamilton James, because I think he's a really cool sort of storyteller, but he's very natural on sort of camera. An easy way that we can all start is by talking to our iPhones. You know, our iPhones are a video key to the world. You know, they're the easiest way of showing and telling a story. So this is something that I often sort of encourage young photographers to sort of pursue. Joe, I guess, I don't know how we're doing on time. I see we're at 26 minutes. I'm happy to jump into some science, or maybe we can take some questions and then go into the science. What do you want to do?
Yeah, Alex, let's, while you were presenting, I pulled together a little Kahoot in the background. So we're going to run that really quickly and let the classes interact a little bit. And then I say we go to Q&A action with our gang. All right. So while Alex was sharing, I did pull a little Kahoot together in the background. I see lots of students have entered already. I'll share this link up on the screen, kahoot.it, and you can see the pin numbers right down there. So if you go to kahoot.it, you will find that pin number. I'm going to share my screen as well, and that'll bring things nice and front and center for the classrooms. So let me just get that there. All right. So kahoot.it, and then your pin number is 4694860. If you have, say, a Chromebook or a tablet at your desk, then you can join right there. If not, your teacher could put it up at the front of the room and you guys could shout out your answers for him or her. If you have a tablet or maybe your smartphone, you could scan that QR code up at the top and that'll bring you right in. So we have 4 questions today based on Alex's presentation for us. 2 multiple choice, 2 true and false, 20 seconds for each question. If you get it right, you're getting some points. If you get it right and you do it quickly, you get even more points. It doesn't matter how fast you put in that wrong answer. We got nothing for you. So take a minute or a couple seconds and think about that question. Make sure you're locking in that right answer. So we'll give a couple more seconds here to get a few more in. I see our names are auto-generated, so they're different animal names, but I do see some big cat names popping in, like Captain Lion. Let me scan down. I saw a few more a little bit earlier, but we've got the Smiling Bobcat. A couple other names like the Glowing Camel, the Legendary Wolf. Very cool. All right, the Jolly Lion. Okay, so I think we're ready. The names have slowed down, so let's jump into our Kahoot for today. And then we'll spend the rest of the time with a little Q&A action. All right, our first question. Nice, easy one to warm us up. Where was Alex born? Was it Australia, South Africa, Sri Lanka, or Canada? A nice warm-up question there, and some clues there as that picture unfolds in the background. All right, good job, crew. A nice question to get us warmed up. Let's see what that did for our leaderboard. We've got the Glowing Camel in first place, but let's see what happens with our next question. We got a true and false coming your way. Big cats are ecosystem engineers or umbrella species. Is that true or is that false? So are they a species that if we protect them, we protect the habitat they need? That means it'll protect the habitat of so many other species of both plants and animals. Is that true or is that false? All right, good job. That is absolutely true. Nice big areas those big cats need. If we protect those areas, we're protecting so many other species as well. And our Glowing Camel is still holding down that top spot. About how much is each lion worth to a local community in Uganda? Was it $3,000 a year, $7,000, $16,000, or $20,000? Got about 10 seconds to lock in your answer. All right. Ooh, you guys are sharp today. We're seeing lots of students in those right areas, and it is about $16,000 US a year. Really important to the economy through tourism. All right, lots of shifting, but the Glowing Camel is holding that spot tight. Let's see what happens with our last true and false. Queen Elizabeth National Park in Uganda has a low vertebrate biodiversity. Is that true or is that false? Queen Elizabeth National Park has a low vertebrate, so animals with a backbone, a low biodiversity. 5 more seconds. Ooh, a little bit split, but most went with false. That's absolutely correct. Alex shared with us that it has the most vertebrate biodiversity in Africa. So let's take a look at our final leaderboard before we shift gears. In third place, we've got the inspired bear. In second place, we've got the legend crane. And in first place, holding that spot, ooh, the fast owl swoops in right at the end to take that top spot. All right, crew. Well, thanks for playing along with us today. I'm going to come back from that screen share, and we're going to go into a little Q&A action. So let me bring Alex back in here. I think we lost you for a second, Alex. You must have gone out behind the scenes.
I ran out of airtime.
All right. Well, I'm glad we got you back. Let's jump into some Q&A action. If you're joining via YouTube, send those questions in. I see a few there already. But let's start off. We've got two classrooms hanging out together in Maine, some fourth graders. I'm going to bring them in front and center. Hey, fourth graders, how are we doing today?
Say hi, my name is.
Hi, my name is Ben.
Hey, Ben.
What's your question, honey?
Are big cats your favorite animal?
They are my favorite animal. I think they're definitely all cats, even house cats. I just always had a thing for cats. So, yes, Ben, they are my favorite animal.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Fourth graders, you want to squeeze one more in?
Yeah, Ben. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Marlena. Are the tree climbing lion species endangered?
Good question, Marlena. So in Queen Elizabeth, they are under threat. So there's not a lot of them left, unfortunately. But there's also only a few populations in Africa where we call the tree climbing behavior endemic or cultural. So basically every single lion is doing it. And that's in Lake Manyara in Tanzania, in Serengeti. There's parts there where a lot of lions are doing it, and in Queen Elizabeth. So, but yes, they are threatened. Yes, they are very threatened. That particular population in Queen Elizabeth. Yes.
What can kids do to help them?
What you can do to help them, I would say the easiest thing that you can do is spread awareness about good conservation projects that are working in and around Uganda. So if you just type in Uganda lion conservation in Google, you'll come up with a couple of different sort of projects that are doing good work there. And then just spread the awareness amongst your friends. You know, that's the big thing. We got to just get the word out there that these cats need our help.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marlena.
Thank you, fourth graders. We're going to jump over to Miss Kennelty's crew who are hanging out with us right now. How are we doing today?
We're doing good. So we have two for our first question. We got Presley and Apollo here. Go ahead.
My name's Presley, and I want to know, why do lions climb trees?
Aha, Presley, very good question. So there are a couple of what we call hypotheses. So in science, when we have like an idea or a potential solution for an answer, we call it a hypothesis. And the three most tangible or the three most plausible hypotheses are: one, that they are trying to sort of get a vantage point to look out over the savannah; two, they're escaping the heat of the day; or three, they're escaping biting flies. I personally think that it's option two, that it's a little bit cooler up there. That's the most plausible thing. If you look in Australia with koala bears, they seem to want to go higher because it's about 1 or 2 degrees cooler for every sort of 20 or 30 meters that you go up a tree. So thanks for the question, Presley.
Thank you.
All right, let's grab that other one.
Hi, I'm Apollo, and I'm wondering, is it hard to find tree climbing lions?
Good question, Apollo. The answer is actually no. And maybe I can reverse your question and you can try and answer, why do you think it is not difficult to find tree climbing lions when you're driving on safari in Queen Elizabeth National Park? Say you're going in the main tourist area. Why do you think that might be the case?
Because that's where their habitat is?
Yes, but it's actually a deeper thing. And the thing is, when you're driving around, think about you sort of looking at the savannah. You kind of see trees, you see grass. What's the thing that you least likely expect to see? Is a tree with a lion hanging out of it, right? So immediately your eyes are like, what on earth is that? So in a way, you're not expecting it, so you see it and you're like, oh, there's a lion in a tree.
Okay. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks. Great questions, crew.
Thanks, Apollo.
So Mr. Ferguson's crew, I'm gonna grab one from YouTube here, are in Erin, Ontario, so in Canada, and they're wondering, you talked about the leopards at the beginning. They're wondering if those leopards went extinct, what do you think would happen in that area?
I think it would have a number of different impacts. And I think the first one is, as I say, you could have some kind of what we call a deleterious or a negative impact on the environment. You know, as we were talking about, there's some really good questions in the beginning of my talk about how these cats are kind of keeping things in balance, you know, in the ecosystem. So I think that would happen. There would be some kind of tipping of the scales and the ecosystem would fall out of balance. I think you'd have more dogs. You'd potentially have more people getting bitten, maybe more rabies. And then also, you know, I think, you know, you could have other impacts like overgrazing by deer, over browsing by deer. You know, there could be all sorts of negative ecosystem effects. So we kind of do need leopards not only there, but in other parts of the world. They fulfill a very important role in the ecosystem. Very good question.
All right. Okay, we got to go to Texas, Hunt, Texas. We've got a 7th grade class hanging out with us. There they are.
Hi, at what age did you know you wanted to be a photographer?
I mean, I'm more of a scientist than a photographer, but I guess I wanted to kind of work with wildlife at about sort of 16, 17. Yeah, so like sort of late teenager. Have you got an interest in wildlife and big cats and things, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So like, you know, it's never too early. It's never too late. Like, you know, it's just, I'm just excited that people want to get into this because it's so important.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you. Cool.
You got another question there for us? There we go.
When you go on like your expeditions, how many people do you go with usually?
That's a good question. So here's the most important thing. You, me, pretty much anyone who doesn't inherently live in these places would not be able to get much done without the people that live alongside these big cats. So I often try and employ, and sometimes mentor people that have the best kind of on-the-ground experience. And that often includes rangers, local scientists, even local community members. But to answer your question, it could be anything from just one person or two people. Like last year, we made a National Geographic documentary on these tree climbing lions, like part 2. And it was my fiance, Anna, and one like really good ranger that you saw there, Jimmy. And it was just 3. We were on a tight budget. But sometimes we need like 8 people or 5 people. So it's very context dependent. Like, you know, what do we need to do? What's the budget? What's the time frame? What are we trying to do? So it's highly dependent on what your goals are. Good question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more question.
Yeah, go for it, bud.
Have you ever had any close calls, like a lion has attacked you or anything like that?
I had one close call in 2017 in October of that year. I still remember like it was yesterday. I have spent thousands of hours around lions, leopards, all sorts of different predators around the world. And typically when you're in a vehicle and you're looking at a lion or a leopard or a tiger on safari, when they look back at you, they see you as one whole entity with the vehicle. They don't care about you. They look through you. But on one October day in 2017, I had those tree climbing lions that you saw, Jacob, his 2 sisters, and his mom, come down from a tree and basically follow my little Suzuki Jimny 2 lions on either side, and it was pretty scary. It was pretty harrowing. I've never seen lions look at me the way that those lions looked at me. Luckily, I got to a road. I got to drive away. But yeah, it was like the only scary time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, before we jump to another class, I want to go back to the first question from our Texas crew, where she asked about the photography, the film work. Why do you think that became important to you to bring that into your science, to bring in that media?
I think it became important because science alone, graphs, data, maps, are quite difficult to move people. And if you can use pictures and film as a boost to motivate and inspire people and inspire your results as a scientist, then I think that is a major plus in your artillery as a conservation biologist and scientist.
All right. So we'll squeeze in 2 more questions here before we wrap today. I want to go back to our 5th graders. They sent me a question in the chat, so we'll let them ask it up with us.
What's the oldest type of big cat you've ever seen?
So there is, I think, a leopardess that lived in the Timbavati in a place called the Sabi Sands of South Africa. I think she lived to, I want to say 17 years of age. She might have even been 18, but that's like super old for a female leopardess. That, like, you know, it's very rare. It's quite rare for them to sort of reach 14, 15 years in the wild. So something in that line is sort of what you would expect to be the oldest cat.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
No worries.
Grabbing a question from YouTube here, Alex, just sticking with that leopard theme from a class here, Miss Jacobson's class. Those leopards, what's an average weight for one of those leopards?
Okay, so this is an important question. So depending on where you are on planet Earth is going to largely dictate how big cats get. So as a general kind of rule, in places like the mountainous areas of South Africa and the southernmost reaches of Africa, their leopards are very small. Anything from 20 to 25 kilograms for a female, adult female, and about 40 to 45 kilograms for an adult male that might weigh 50, 48, 45 kilograms. That being said, in places like Iran, in the Central Alborz range, they can get up to 80, 85 kilograms. I've heard of some individuals in some places, being like 90, 85. So the biggest male, maybe like 85, 90 kilograms.
All right. Let's visit our crew in Maine, our double class. Do you guys have a final question or 2 to wrap up?
Say your name.
My name's Maeve, and how do the lions stay safe in the poisonous trees?
Yes. So they don't really like scratch the trees. So they don't really like squeeze that milky latex out when they climb. But yeah, it's a very interesting question. They don't seem to like claw on those trees. So there's not a lot of like latex coming out.
All right. And you have one more for us 4th graders?
Come on up, Maddie, quick.
Hi, my name is Matthew, and how many digital cameras do you have?
So Matthew, that's an interesting question. So when we're doing like science, to answer the question of how many leopards there are in an area, then we have many. So this year, I think I deployed in every camera trap survey that I did to find out how many leopards there were in an area. I would set out about 100 camera traps, about 50 locations, 2 cameras per location. In terms of the cameras that I use to take photos of lions and leopards, I maybe will have 2 cameras with me at any given time just to take photos and film of them.
All right. So Alex, before we wrap up today, I know you're in Sri Lanka right now. What's next for you?
What is next for me? I am actually going to be continuing some of our work in Uganda. So this year we've embarked on a project to basically try and figure out how many carnivores there are in the whole of Uganda using what we call a collaborative stakeholder approach. So we've trained over 100 different Ugandan stakeholders, and we surveyed 5 different protected areas using over 72 scientists. Basically, the biggest thing that you need to do if you really want to get good numbers of big carnivores and big cats, you need to try and figure out how to work together. And that's quite difficult in conservation because there's a lot of people that are fighting. So that's what we've been trying to do in Uganda, is to get all these different conservation scientists to help us. And yeah, that's sort of been my project, and I'm trying to expand that and build that to have some kind of lasting legacy in the country. So that's sort of what's on my plate.
All right. Well, Alex, a huge pleasure to have you joining us today. Thanks for a fun little adventure, traveling a little bit of the world and learning about some of the big cats that you're working with. And yeah, good luck with future work. And we can't wait to have you join us again.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks, everybody. Very cool hanging out with all of you. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. Sorry that I jumped around between.
That's okay. We have a few classrooms here. Big goodbye and thank you for Alex.
Thank
guys.
you, everyone.
Hope you guys have a great holiday season.
Cheers, guys. Merry Christmas, everybody. See you later. Bye.